Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're on the road today, but we're going to kick off our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. High school football cranks up tomorrow night. A lot of JV games tonight. We're going to start first, and we're going to head to Union County over in Lake Butler and talk to the head football coach, Andrew Thomas. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Morning, Shane. Good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Well, Coach, you and I were texting. This could be happening like last year. Your season opener, I think, was supposed to be against Fort White, has now been canceled due to COVID. You think this is going to be a situation like last year?
Right now, just seeing the way these first weeks are, I mean, it's heading that way. It's not going to be worse. We never actually got in a situation where we had to cancel a game, either through us or an opponent last year. So going through all this is the first time we've directly had to deal with it as far as actually canceling the game. And we were supposed to play a JV game tonight with them as well, and that got canceled a couple weeks ago. So we're searching for something right now, but it's getting pretty late to be able to find something that'll work out. But it's not looking good, and it's scary kind of how it's heading. I hate it for the kids, all the time and effort we put in to run into this.
Well, you had your kickoff classic against Baker County last week, which is a 5A school. Y'all are 1A. How'd that game go? Were you pleased with the performance of your players?
All in all, it was good for us because, we hung in there with them. There was, defensively, we missed one or two tackles, and we had kids, did a good job as far as being prepared and there, and we just missed a couple tackles. They popped a couple of runs on us. Other than that, up front, you worry about, you play a bigger school, usually concerns in the line of scrimmage, and that really wasn't for us. I thought we handled ourselves up front. Probably got out-skilled just a little bit. But all in all, we were hanging right there with them. We were pretty base in a lot of stuff that we did, it being a preseason game. So it wasn't like we were, turning everything loose. But yeah, I was pleased that I think it's, our kids were frustrated, honestly, because they wasn't scared of the opponent. So I think it's actually kind of good for us, a little bit of a humbling, and at the same time knowing that we're that close against a school like that. So it was good for us to play somebody like that.
We're speaking with Coach Andrew Thomas, head football coach at Union County. Coach, real quick before we let you go, and we'll talk to you as the season progresses, but just I get so dang confused with Florida High School Athletic Association because they changed their districts, and then the 1A, is it 1A through 3A or 1A through 4A? You don't have districts, correct?
1 through 4, yeah, correct.
Okay, so basically you just have to make your schedule. And how do they determine again who makes the playoffs? You're pretty much in the playoffs every year. You have a great program there, but how do they figure that out again?
So it's based off of wins and losses, basically. I'm not a fan of it. It's 35% of your basically winning percentage. 35% is off your opponent's winning percentage, and then 30% is based off the opponent's winning percentage. So it just breaks down the percentages off of that, and it doesn't really compare apples to apples because you could play somebody that's really not very good, maybe a smaller school that plays a weak schedule and they have a good record and it benefits you, and then vice versa, you could be playing a tough, bigger school that maybe it's a 500 squad and you're not benefiting off of it. So that's what I don't really like about it. At the end of the day, there's 6 teams that make the region playoffs. Out of your region, 6 teams will go. And I mean, you're going to get, the main ones getting in the playoffs. It might affect win-loss, or I mean, it might affect like home field advantage, once you get to the playoffs based on some of that. But I mean, I'm a fan of the districts because you lose some of the local rivals when you do this too, because of scheduling. Some schools you kind of normally play. I mean, we've had to reach out and play some odd schools. It's tougher on scheduling too for us because now we got to go out and find teams. Instead, if you have a district, usually you're only going out and finding maybe 4 games because of the other ones being district games already set. So
yeah, it's definitely
that's
tough. Yeah. One last thing, because I find this very interesting. I know you have a great program there. Most 1A schools, you have to have guys play both ways. Do you have a lot of guys that play both offense and defense for you?
Yeah, I mean, most of our guys do. I'm big on trying to develop our kids up front where we don't have to as much. So we try and build our guys where our O-line guys necessarily doesn't have to, we're not counting on the D-line. And I build my program around trying to put my best athletes on defense first. Our defensive, I'm going to make sure that, our better athletes up front going to play D-line. But, we got, all our skill kids do. And we do with all our kids, but maybe not as much as some smaller schools would, have to do that. And I've been there. We've had that, where maybe 7 or 8 guys are starting both ways, but we probably got maybe about 3 right now that are starting both ways. But it's mostly our skill guys. But we do work them on both sides of the ball.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. Good luck this year. Unfortunately, y'all won't be playing tomorrow night, but y'all stay safe, and we'll talk to you as the season goes along.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Shane.
Yep, that's Coach Andrew Thomas over in Union County. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to be joined by the head football coach at Columbia, Demetric Jackson. Good morning, Coach. How are you? Okay, we need to get Coach to press *6 to unmute himself. Can you hear me there, Coach Jackson?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you taking the time, Coach, here on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. Demetric, obviously it's been a whirlwind for you. You're a former Tiger yourself, played ball at Florida, been a longtime coach at Fort White. When Brian Allen resigned, you took over the Tiger program, but that was after spring.
Yes, it was actually after 4th of July. A couple of days after 4th. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, it was a couple of days after the 4th of July that we that it was officially announced, and the week after I kind of had my first meeting with the players, and so it's kind of been hit the ground running and get started.
So how difficult has it been, with a whole new staff there? Obviously, you got some tremendous players taking over a great program. Have the kids been able to grasp your systems, both offensively and defensively, pretty quickly?
Yes, they have, man. It's credit to these guys, these players, and the former staff. These guys are pretty sharp. There's some things that we do a little different. We always going to start with the basics, the fundamentals of football, and they've kind of got a good grasp of that, and then just understanding our terminology. We're building it up piece by piece. You don't want to throw the whole playbook at them, first couple of weeks, and so we're just kind of installing different things each week, so our players get a grasp of it. Defensively, we're trying to learn their system, so we don't have a whole lot of changes. We both run the same defense. It's just a different terminology. So we continue to use their terminology defensively. Offensively, we change to use our terminology.
Yeah, well, that goes to show that's a good coach, because it's easy for you grown men to learn what those kids had been doing for so many years, than them having to learn new terminology. So, Dimitri, last week, your kickoff classic, you played Vanguard, which, I mean, gosh, there must have been athletes all over the field there. Were you pleased at how your kids played in the kickoff classic?
Overall, I was. I was pleased with the effort. We've had I wouldn't say bad luck, but it's kind of been a real uphill battle. We only in 2 weeks we've only had one full day of practice. Dealing with lightning, wet bulb, the heat index, all of those issues has caused a whole lot of issues with us. But just like some other teams, we kind of realize, guys, that happens everywhere. Nobody's going to worry about what Columbia's doing and how they practice it. But the way we went out and performed with great energy and focus, I was really pleased. Now, there's a lot of mistakes we made, particularly on offense, some missed blocking assignments. But those things going to correct themselves. We got great competition at every position, so guys either going to learn what they do or kind of find themselves falling on the depth chart. But, the guys really brought great effort against Vanguard, and those are some things that we can build on. We continue to play with that effort. The sky's the limit.
Who y'all got this week, Coach?
We have American Heritage, Del Rey.
Oh goodness.
They come here. And, so it doesn't ease up on us. We got another tough challenge.
When you look at, you were at Fort White for so many years and had so much success there. Has it been a big transition for you and your staff coming to a five? I think Columbia's at 5 or 6A now. A bigger program with more kids in the program, because I'm sure your JV program has a ton of kids. Your varsity, they've always had a lot of kids standing on the sidelines. Has that been a big adjustment? Where you're used to having guys play both ways.
Yes, that is a major adjustment. That but it's a welcome adjustment. I mean, we have guys, as I mentioned before, we have 120 guys in the program. One, you have multiple guys fighting for one spot, on offense and defense. But the positive to that, it's good competition, breeds success. The other thing is, you have many guys don't have to play a whole lot of special teams. Where I was at before, you had guys had to play offense, turn around, play defense, and then play all the special teams. We have a whole different unit that playing, in many of our cases, our special teams. And then, right now I have one guy, maybe two, that's going to play a little bit early on in the season of playing both sides of the ball, whereas in the past we've had 7 or 8. That's the positive. The negative is keeping up with the 120 players, making sure everybody's fitted, making sure, we call roll every single day, making sure guys are here, supervision, so it presents a challenge, but it's a positive challenge for the most part. But there are some things that makes life a little difficult when you're talking about 120 players every day.
Dimitri, you got 2 other former Gators on your staff, Big Mark Campbell, big defensive lineman, and Shay Showers. Offensively, I want to say you call the plays, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so what kind of offense are you going to run at Columbia?
Well, we run a spread, multiple set. We'll come out to, 4 wides, but we'll also turn around and run a tight end with a fullback traditional pro set. Our offense is what we call multiple formations. It's kind of predicated on what the defense can't stop. Is what we're going to kind of stick to. We'll run old Coach Spurrier bandit set a lot. We'll even go to Tech with 2 tight ends. So it's multiple depending on, we're playing teams that's all used to spread. We might turn around and just slow the game down and just run some power eye right at them. But then we play teams that are bigger and maybe not as athletic. We'll spread it. So our offense is multiple. We try to have some basic things that we do out of every set, but we're going to show multiple formations and kind of attack them where we feel their weak is at.
Well, good stuff, Coach. You guys be safe. Good luck tomorrow night. You got a tough opponent rolling into town, but should be a good ball game, and we'll talk to you as the season goes along, Coach.
All right. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate you having me.
That's Dimitri Jackson from the Columbia Tigers. Now we're going to head down to Ocala, and we're going to be joined by former Gator quarterback who's been in charge of the Celtics for quite some time, off and on here and there. John Brantley. Coach Brantley, how are you?
What's up, Big Shane? How are you, buddy?
We're doing okay, Brantley. I'm on the road today doing the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. I appreciate you taking the time. let's go back. You played like a little jamboree last week, I think, with West Nassau and PK Young. I don't know if you held players out. Some coaches approach those jamborees a little different. Were you pleased at the performance of your ball club?
I mean, it was all right. You know, it's hard to get anything going in just one quarter. And in both those quarters, you know, they received the football first and, you know, drove down the field a little bit and took time off the clock. So we only had possession, I think, 2, maybe 3 times. So hard to assess how your offense is going to be. But, hey, we got lined up, got the ball snapped, and that was a plus.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, you got a big one tomorrow night. 7A school, Buholt's going to come rolling into town. They got some really good players. I think Coach Whittemore thinks this could be one of his better teams in quite some time. What do you see from Buholt's on tape?
Well, you just see athletes. I mean, you know, Buholt's not the old Buholt's they used to be. You know, they'd come in and pound you and everything. Got athletes all over the place. They got 2 or 3 of the best receivers I've seen in a long time on the field at the same time. Quarterbacks outstanding, not only throwing the ball but running the ball, and their defense is solid. I know they picked up a couple kids from GHS and has solidified some of the things they were trying to accomplish on defense, and they were able to do that. So, you know, it's going to be one of those games, but hell, we've already been hit with the COVID deal. So I just hope we can get to tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We're going to have, I think we're already got 7 or 8 kids out. So we're going to see. But fortunately for us, our numbers are up. That's going to allow us to hopefully get to that start. And we're going to do everything we can to play this game.
Talk a little bit real quick, Coach, before we let you go, about what you're trying to do offensively. Obviously, you got Cole Gonzalez, Billy Gonzalez, the Gator wide receiver coach, as your quarterback. I know you had a big running back last year. Is he back?
No, Jamarian, he's gone. He's he's on. Cole's the only senior on this offense. We're young.
Wow.
It's pretty exciting for the future, but you know, for the time being, it's a work in progress. But you know, we had to replace those 3 big linemen that, you know, went to the next level, and we've done a pretty good job of that. But you know, we've had to replace 15 outstanding seniors, and we're doing that, but it's going to take time, and the combination of this COVID deal, Shane, and the weather. I don't know if y'all been getting the weather in Gainesville like we had in Ocala. Heck, I've missed at least 1.5 practices a week over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that's cut into our preparation and everything. But hey, we're not going to make any excuses. I want to get these kids out there and let them play and fight through this ordeal that we've been dealing with now for 2 years.
So, Coach, last thing before we let you go, and we'll get you on, obviously, a bunch during the season. At a 3A school, which you have a very good program there, I asked this to Andrew Thomas, who's at a 1A school at Union County earlier. How many kids do you have on your squad that go both ways?
Well, as you know, and I learned this with Kerwin Bell, we try to avoid that as much as possible. Right now, we don't have a single kid going both ways, and the goal is that because I felt like we didn't steal a state championship, but it was the reason we won one. Pahokee, we played Pahokee down on the rug in Miami, 85-degree weather, and they had 6 guys going both ways. And we were able to make a 60-some-yard run with a kid that ran a 4.7 up the middle of the field. And it's just because they were gassed. So we've kind of made it a tradition or a practice at Trinity. We'd rather coach a kid up, have him 70% of that kid that was possibly going both ways. Because if you lose that kid, you've lost 2 starters. So, you know, but that's not to say there's not certain, you know, times during a football game you want your best kids out there, and we may put a couple out there, but right now we don't have one kid going both ways for us, and we'd like to keep it that way if possible. Fortunately for us, we've got our numbers up at Trinity. 78 kids came out for football this past year, able to get a pretty good. Our JV team plays tonight against Nature Coast, and then we open up tomorrow night against Buholt. So our numbers are there. We just need to keep them up, coach them up, and get the program back to where it should be.
Good stuff, Coach. Good luck to y'all this year. We'll get you on later, and y'all be safe down there in Ocala.
All right, Shane. Thank you, buddy.
That's Coach John Brantley. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Now we're going to go to Buchholz High School, who is playing Trinity Catholic tomorrow night. And we're joined here on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup with Coach Mark Whittemore. Coach, good morning. Appreciate you taking the time. Coach Whittemore, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You there?
We got you, Coach. All right, we won't keep you long. I know you got to go teach some class. Real quick, you crank up tomorrow night for real. Were you pleased with your kickoff classic last week?
We were, generally speaking. You know how kickoff classics are, and we had one of the teams had to bail for COVID, so it ended up being a 2-team format instead of a 3-team. But generally speaking, yes, I was pleased, especially defensively.
Coach, when you look at your offense, obviously your son Creed's at quarterback, had a tremendous year last year. You got some really good skill players, and you've been at Buchholz for a long time. Do you think this, because Buchholz, when you think of Buchholz in the past, that's what Brantley was talking about. You always thought a big lineman coming in and pound you. But now you've had so many really good skill players the last few years. Could this be your best group of skill guys?
Arguably, yes. I mean, you know, we've got for the first time in a long time, it kind of going back to the 90s, we've got 3 perimeter guys that can go, you know, sub 1100 meters. So, you know, I mean, that's, you know, usually, as Brantley knows, that's not really been our MO, you know. And so, yeah, I'd say it's one of the best. Yes, to answer your question.
Defensively, were you pleased at the performance last week, and what do you expect from the defensive side of the football this year?
Well, you know, I think the defensive side, I think our best unit is the defensive line. We're real long, recruitable, if you know what I mean, and you know, we're just a special unit up front defensively. We get off the ball well. Play assignment football and get good leverage. Our linebackers are probably going to lead the defense. They're you know, it's a veteran bunch, 3 seniors. So I'm excited. I really am, Shane, defensively about you know, trying to get some stops and come up with some 3 and outs.
Well, Coach, real quick, what do you see from Trinity on tape?
Well, as usual, a Brantley team is always going to have 4 or 5 hogs. I mean, they might be the biggest offensive line that we face, and we play at least 5 Final Four caliber teams. And I mean, they are huge, Shane. So, you know, Brantley always seems to unearth, you know, some huge Ocala kids. And he's got him again.
Well, that's good stuff as always, Coach. I know y'all are excited about kicking the season off. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully everybody stays safe and you can get all your games in. But obviously we will have you on periodically. And good luck to your other 2 boys playing college football, and good luck to the Bobcats.
Hey, thanks so much, Shane. Always good talking with you, and look forward to chatting with you in the future. It's going to be a fun season.
Yes, that's Coach Mark Whittemore. Join us on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. That concludes our High School Roundup for today. When we come back after the break, we're going to be joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, talking about college football. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmitt. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios, celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shops, Nike, Les Macarons, French Pastries, International Diamond Center, and it's already open. The HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gainesville's hottest new restaurant. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline. We're going to be joined by our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. It's good to be with you too. We have had a lot happen over the last few days, to say the least. So always good to catch up. And the main thing is for this week, Shane, we can say it's game week because it is week 0 games. Some folks may not be that excited, but look, we are staring at games this week and got a full slate next week.
Brent, why don't they just call this week 1 and next week 2?
Yeah, look, I think that's a great idea. I would agree with that. But the week 0 doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. But we've got Nebraska at Illinois. That's at 1 o'clock. UConn at Fresno State at 2 o'clock. Hawaii at UCLA at 3:30. Now that's on ESPN. At UTEP at New Mexico State at 9:30. That's on Flow Football. And I'm pleading ignorance here. I'm not really sure what that is.
Yeah,
and then Southern Utah at San Jose State at 10 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. And the same thing with the UConn game, too. So it's a little bit, Bud, to whet our appetite for next week.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. As we all know, Tim Tebow was released, I guess it was last week by the Jags. He is going to be back with SEC Nation, right?
I thought we would have this happen, and certainly not surprised. But I'm sure they welcome him with open arms. But yes, and there will be more on this over the next few days. But the SEC Nation will return. They will actually start next Thursday. And remember, next Thursday, we will have Tennessee and Bowling Green. So that will be on Thursday night, which will be a treat to see an SEC game. So they will start with their live programming for SEC Nation on Thursday, and then they're back every Saturday. And yes, Tim Tebow will be a part of the group again.
Yeah, not surprised at all. The boys over there in Jax, I believe yesterday on 1010XL had the commissioner, Greg Sankey, on. Anything come out of that conversation? Did you hear about it?
A couple of things that Greg Sankey said, one on scheduling, and Shane, we both agree on this one. Sankey said we need to rotate teams through our campuses with greater frequency, i.e., Alabama comes to the Swamp, in just a few weeks. And the reality is, I mean, how often do they actually play, right, Shane? So,
right.
I mean that's a headliner game that we need to see more of. And Sankey says they would like to do something to have teams play each other more often, particularly the teams that don't play that often. Also, Sankey said that the Alliance, again, this loosely knitted group with the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC, they really weren't part of the college football playoff move to 12 teams. Sankey's quote on that said, and he goes all the way back to 2018, we weren't the ones advocating for the new format. Others were. There was never some kind of push. We had to have this done from an SEC perspective. So I think Sankey was saying over the years, this has not just been an SEC thing, but it's been involving with the other conferences. So just a couple of the nuggets from what Sankey said yesterday.
Yeah, speaking of the Alliance, I've had a couple people, I guess on Tuesday's show, Buddy Martin talked a lot about it. I had Ivan Maisel on yesterday. And I saw a tweet by Tony Barnhart, who I respect a lot in the business that you guys are in. And I agree 100% with him because I've been saying the same thing, Brandon. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand. But Tony Barnhart tweeted, could someone explain to me why the alliance of the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12 is going to be a big deal? I don't see it. I don't either. The 12-team playoff is for their benefit, all of those conferences, because if not, only one or two of them are getting in, because we know the SEC is the dominant conference. But I just don't understand the big deal about this alliance. I know it may involve some scheduling between the conferences on down the road, but what do you think about this whole alliance thing, Brent?
This alliance is basically in reaction to what the SEC did with Oklahoma and Texas. Now, the first thing that needs to be said here, and I'm sure it has been, but look, if those three conferences had a shot at Texas and Oklahoma and they approached them about joining those conferences, you can't tell me that they would not have rolled out the red carpet, right, Shane? And been happy to have them come in. So, there's thoughts about not scheduling SEC teams. Well, if you're going to be serious about that, you are hurting your own fan bases by not having SEC teams come in. Now, the other part of this, and they really won't come out and say this, but this is very much going on, is they want other networks involved with this, meaning that right now that ESPN has first right of refusal for the college football playoffs and just about everything else. But so I think what they're trying to say is if we can delay the expansion of the playoffs to 12 teams, then we may get more networks, probably i.e. like Fox and others involved, which is frankly not a bad idea. But to your point, the only way that the Pac-12 is going to get in the playoffs right now is if they expand it. So, Shane, doesn't it behoove these conferences in the ACC too, if they want to get somebody in besides Clemson and the Big Ten, somebody in besides Ohio State? Look, those teams all be screaming from the mountaintop, we need to start this college football playoff expansion as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I understand how they want to get other TV networks. And I've been preaching this the last couple of days because, like I said, Brent, it makes no sense to me. And I feel like they think that if Fox, who is affiliated with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, that's going to get them more teams in the playoff. And that's not the case. I don't care. No. Like I said on my show yesterday, I don't care if Nickelodeon is carrying the playoff system. They're going to take the 12 best teams.
Right. Agreed. And another thing to keep in mind here is the expansion. Well, the thing that we've heard all week long is the possibility of some of these other conferences, i.e. the Pac-12 and their new commissioner has mentioned that if there's going to be some kind of expansion with the Pac-12, that would be announced soon. So we will see if anything comes out about that, either on Friday or over the weekend. But one thing I was glad to see, speaking of the expansion of the playoffs, was with the press conference they had this week, that all the commissioners were in favor of the playoffs expanding. They're not keeping it at 4. They've got to go beyond that for everybody to be involved to some degree. So those are some of the things. Still, a lot to be settled, but just a little bit more about the lines.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, here on the Titan More Hotline. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. All right, Brent, getting towards the SEC, one of your stats here, or notes, I know the Gator Nation was so upset with their defense last year. But I'm going to read this right here, that not a single SEC team finished in the top 50 in pass defense in 2020, and 12 of the 14 teams were in the bottom half of the FBS. That's a crazy stat.
Well, it really tells you where we've gone in college football. Listen, Shane, 5, 10, 15 years ago, this would have been blasphemy, would it not? To have not had a single SEC team. When we would have had several of them, maybe half the conference would have been in the top 50 in pass defense. So the pendulum has swung. I think the rules favor the offense. We've got better, frankly, probably quarterbacks and skill position players than maybe we did before. Some of the rules have been taken away from the defense to a degree, and I think that we've got a lot more poor tackling than we have in the past. Shane, I think there's a bunch of reasons for it, but that stat raises an eyebrow or two, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's go around the league. Alabama, obviously they crank up in the Georgia Dome against Miami. Bryce Young, how's he been looking in practice?
He's done okay. In the latest scrimmage, he threw for nearly 200 yards, couple of touchdowns. John Mechie caught an 80-yard touchdown. And now Paul Tyson, who is vying for the backup role, threw for about 125. Now, the Jamison Williams, who's the Ohio State transfer, he also has played very well, too. Brian Robertson, Rodell Williams scored rushing touchdowns. They're going to be really deep. And the running back room, Trey Sanders is back from an awful car wreck and doing much better. And Will Anderson right now is just absolutely tremendous. He's one of the Alabama linebackers, continues to put pressure on the quarterback, which is something Bama's needed. And Nick Saban went out of his way on this last Alabama note to tell tight end Jaleel Billingsley, who is not getting on with the program, his response was, Saban's, this is not a democracy. Everyone doesn't get to do what they want to do and feel like doing. You got to buy in and do what you're supposed to be doing. So for Jaleel Billingsley's future, he needs to be paying attention to that. Kid has a lot of talent, Shane, but it's kind of going to his head, so they're trying to get his attention.
Yeah, I'm curious because you don't hear a lot of that coming out of Tuscaloosa, guys with attitude problems or whatever there may be. He's a really good player. I mean, he's as close to a Kyle Pitts as we'll see in the league this year because I think he's a wide receiver, wearing number 19 lined up as a tight end. The Gators, a lot of stuff's going on there. I know Scott Strickland came out yesterday with a comment on Steve Russell's show about fans coming to the stadium.
Yes. He said that Florida will not be requiring vaccines or negative tests to attend any event on campus. The short answer, there is the authority to require that does not rest with the state university campuses. The university here, public university, does not have the authority to make the decision. It's been made above us. So I think it's good for people to understand that and kind of see where they're going and get that out there. And the reason that makes some news is because you will have some SEC schools, i.e. LSU, who have made the decision to require proof of vaccine and or a negative test. So Florida has come out instead and decided that is their decision, and that is where they're going. We'll get into some Gator notes in a minute, Shane, but just thought it was important to mention that.
And as of right now, LSU is the only school in the conference requiring that once you come to the gate?
Yes, it is. Now, that very well may change as we, over the next few days, as we get into week one. But right now, that is it. Now, some of the Pac-12 schools, Oregon State have done that. But as far as the SEC, LSU, the only one.
Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but they still put business first. They understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Still a few more minutes here with our college football analyst, Brent Beaird. All right, Brent, Gators came out with their, I love it when they do this, their depth chart. It's player X or player B or player C or it's hilarious.
Well, and I give credit where credit is due. Thomas Goldcamp had this, and this is more of I think maybe more possibilities than it is something that's hard and fast. But look, you and I both know, Shane, when all these SEC schools come out with their depth chart over the next few days, this is what it's going to be, right? It's going to be or as far as that is concerned. I do want to mention, I'm curious if you've heard too, that Anthony Richardson, who people think will be the backup quarterback, looked good in the second scrimmage. Dan Mullen said he looked good the first scrimmage. And from what I understand, Shane, right now, if they had to do it, and I think that they will choose to play him some, that they have some confidence that he'll play pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Anthony play, especially in the first 2 games. I think they're very similar quarterbacks. But they're similar. There's not a whole lot of difference. So, like, you pretty much knew what was going to happen when Emory came into the game, when Trask came out.
Sure.
But these 2 guys are the same guy. One's just a little bit bigger. One's a little faster. So Dan does a tremendous job with those different packages. So I do think you'll see them both, especially in the first 2 games. Any other thing on the depth chart, any other positions stand out to you?
To me, when you look at And I hope people realize this. This may be as good of a running back room as anybody in the league. Damian Pierce, Malik Davis, Naquan Wright, Lorenzo Lingard, DeMarcus Bowman. Shane, look, if they can throw it better than maybe what some people consider, and these quarterbacks settle in, these running backs, if they can block, I know they can catch out of the backfield. We know they can run. This could be a bit of a revival this year for the Gator running game, could it not?
No, I agree. I think you're going to get a lot of yards rushing from the quarterback position. I just pictured going back to when Tebow was here, how he's going to call plays.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's what I picture. Brent, real quick, I want to go back to Alabama. Would you say this year the weakness or the position group that they're not real sure about, and they've always had great players there, would you say it's the offensive line?
They've got to replace a few guys on the offensive line. Now, Evan Neal is one of the better ones. He'll be a top 10 draft choice. But to your point, which I think is a good one, there will have to be some seasoning for these guys this year. So yes, I would agree with that. And again, I think you could say the same thing they're incredibly talented at wide receiver. But I mean, when you lose what they lost last year, now JoJo Earl is a freshman who is similar to Waddle that they had last year, who obviously got hurt, came back at the end of the year in the national championship game. So I think that's an astute point. I think that at quarterback, on the offensive line, and certainly also at wide receiver, that kind of like Florida, that they may have to run the ball a little bit and play defense and kind of get everybody else up to speed before they play the Gators.
Yeah, we talked last week about Georgia, a ton of injuries. Do you feel like that injury list is going to be long whenever they open up against Clemson?
Well, I think the concern is with what they've had happen, but they've had some guys who've stepped up. Adonai Mitchell, who is a freshman, they really like this kid, and I think he's done well. Now, obviously, you've got some injuries. Darnell Washington at tight end, who's 6'7", a foot injury. Tyke Smith at safety, a foot injury. Those guys likely will not be playing against Clemson, and I think those are losses. It's not that they don't have players, but those guys are really good. And Eric Gilbert, the tight end who committed to Florida, went to LSU, he's not on the field either, and we don't know when that's going to be. So, but again, you've got a few wide receivers coming back like Marcus Rosemey, Jack Saint. So, I mean, does that mean that Clemson has a clear edge? No, it really doesn't. But at the same time, that I think they've got some work to do between now and that Clemson game, and which I still think is going to be a very even game.
Joey Gatewood is now transferred to UCF, which I wasn't surprised, but I was a little bit surprised because obviously he has a great relation, or I should say great, but he had a relationship with Gus Malzahn because he committed to them early out of Bartram Trail, but he also didn't get an opportunity under Gus Malzahn. Were you surprised he went to UCF?
Very, very. I wonder, Shane, I'm just reading between the lines here. I'm wondering if he had a limited amount of offers, and this was the best offer that he had. I mean, he knows Gus, but let's be honest about this. Gatewood was not developed well at all at Auburn. So is that going to happen necessarily at UCF? That's really up in the air. Now, again, what I've also heard is, and I've got to double check this, is that Gatewood may need to sit out a year because he's already had his, because again, remember, he went to Auburn, then transferred to Kentucky. So that may very well may happen. Now, what Kentucky's done is they've named Will Levis, the Penn State transfer, as their starting quarterback. Liam Cohen is their new offensive coordinator, so that's where that came from. Shane, I'm curious if this move for Gatewood surprised you like it did me with him going to be again with Gus.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. You know, a lot of times when guys enter the transfer portal, there's so many that are still sitting in the transfer portal.
Yes.
And they usually have to drop down a level. And you may be right. It may be one of these deals where Gus says, hey, this is an SEC talented kid. Maybe he can help us. But with Gus not playing him at Auburn or giving him an opportunity, it just seemed like a weird fit for me.
Yes.
Before we let you go, Brent, I know you got a lot of nuggets. Time kind of flew by today. But you got any nuggets for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing on the field that came out yesterday, and you and I have talked about this for quite some time, Haynes King at Texas A&M is now the starting quarterback. He is 6'3", 200. Well-heralded guy. He battled Zach Calzada also. But look, if they're that neck and neck at this point, and you're naming your guy the week before the first game, I think he'll probably play Calzada and keep him interested with that too. So I think the bottom line is, unless Calzada gets frustrated and just leaves immediately, that I think it will probably still be somewhat of a competition, but I'm going to be very interested, Shane, because you and I've talked to A&M people, and they have all said that A&M this year is just a really good quarterback away from being a playoff team.
Yep, I agree. They're my pick to win the SEC. Any other nuggets? I saw where the Tennessee kid quarterback from Ocala is transferring.
Marr, yes, that's Brian Marr. He decided that he was not going to be a part of it, just got caught up in the numbers. We think, and this is not official yet, but that Joe Milton, the Michigan transfer, may be the guy. And again, Harrison Bailey has played there. Hendon Hooker has played there. He's the Virginia Tech transfer. Will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. And one more quarterback note, and I think this is crucial for them. I'm curious what you think of him. But Luke Doty, the freshman, pretty good athlete, and I think a fairly good quarterback, hurt his foot, likely not playing in the opener, will likely return for the East Carolina game, which is a big game in that area of the country, Shane, as you know. But look, they have got Beamer. Shane Beamer has got to have a good quarterback. Kevin Harris at running back's probably their best player, but Doty's okay. And the sooner he can get back, the better they're going to be.
Yeah, no question. Before we let you go, Brent, Florida State, have they announced the starting quarterback yet?
No, I think that's coming probably by this weekend at this point. But Mackenzie Milton still in that mix, Jordan Travis in that mix. Andrew Parchment is a wide receiver who transferred during the offseason. He is really having a good camp, and I think in general that they're having a good camp too. Overall, big game in it, Shane. Sunday night at home to start the season against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't like their chances, but you never know.
That's right.
Brent, good stuff as always, my man. Enjoy the games this weekend, the few that we have, and then next week we'll really crank it up.
And we'll be previewing SEC games when we talk next Thursday because Tennessee plays that night.
That's right. Can't wait. Good stuff as always, Brent. Be safe, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Shane. Take care.
Yep, that's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our final time out of this Thursday edition. When we come back, we'll wrap it up.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank all our high school coaches for joining us on the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup. Good luck to everyone. I hope everybody has a tremendous year. Stay safe. And also to our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, join us on the Titan MR hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports, 1971, Bobby Orr signs a 5-year contract with the Boston Bruins worth $1 million, the first $1 million contract in the National Hockey League's history. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Hope you enjoyed today's show, folks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe. Take care.